So the Fathering Project was established about 9 years ago through a discovery that our organisation founder, Professor Bruce Robinson, had as a lung specialist in Perth. In his medical practice, he was having discussions with dads whose lives were being cut short through lung diseases. And these dads had a clear and consistent message. The first one was that they actually regretted how much value they put on their careers that resulted in time away from their home. And the second one was that these dads wished that they were more involved and engaged dads, and they actually spend more time with their kids. And the third thing was that these dads also really wished that they'd actually been told, that someone had grabbed them early in their life and actually told them those two first points and saying, get the balance right whilst your kids are young. Now, Bruce actually started out writing a book first, and it was around that, saying, this is what I'm hearing, dads, have a look at it. But it went further. Being a researcher, it went further for him. And so he started, from those conversations, he started to research the impact that actually fathers have on their kids' lives and how dads can learn from the fathers that have gone before them. And that's what we're all about tonight. So firstly, from the research, that the simple outcome was that dads actually have a profound impact in all areas of kids' lives, their development and well-being, and we have a unique role to play in the development that actually isn't filled by anyone else. So it's absolutely critical. So this presents us with an opportunity, actually. We have an opportunity to positively impact our kids' lives by just being engaged and effective dads. And what we talk about in the organisation, we also realise that actually our kids really deserve that. And I think that's enough, isn't it? Our kids deserve it to get our best. Now, from that research, the Fathering Project was started. And we've been working with dads to understand and define their role and also equip them to be the best they can ever since. Now, in our experience, when we work with dads, we've found pretty clear things as well, that every dad really wants to be the best they can for the kids. There's no question at all. We all do that. That all dads that we work with and we see, they love their kids and they just want their kids to love them back. And the challenge is that life gets in the way of us doing those two things, really. So as you'll see, there's a Zoom button in the bottom corner there. I'm just going to invite you guys to share, if you're happy, as a group, what are the biggest challenges that you have as a dad? And maybe where you have felt maybe life getting in the way. So what are the biggest challenges in that sort of thing? So I'll stop sharing for a second and we'll just go to the group call. So again, if someone wants to put their hand up and share something, just get you to unmute. I'll call you. Does anyone want to share? What are the biggest challenges that you've found in being a dad over the years? Well, thanks, Lee. Excellent, mate. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I think a major issue for me is there's a lot of confusion around. You've got, I think the thing I really like about the Fathering Project is that you've got that evidence-based, you've actually got that research basis.
Yep.
And there's an awful lot of stuff that's around, as in, there's 101 parenting books.
Yep.
And it can actually be incredibly overwhelming and confusing. And so I think sometimes it can be a bit of a minefield, and then if people have information overload, then they become debilitated, and then if they're feeling overwhelmed, then it can lead to lack of action, essentially. And so I think sometimes fathers can get blamed for not necessarily being interested. I don't think that's the case. I think it's more that they just need to know where to start and actually go with what the evidence suggests, as opposed to what the latest celebrity is, pronouncing as a parenting tip. Yeah,
beautiful, mate. That's exactly it, isn't it? There is. I mean, you go to the parenting section of any bookstore and there's stacks there, and often there's contradictions. And part of the reason I even joined the organisation is because it's very principle based, but also exactly as you said, that research is very powerful. It's very much an anchor. So I find that that even as an organisation, we try and keep it very, very simple. So it is things that we can just go, I know exactly what to do in these spaces. But again, keeping it principle based. And again, that's what we want to talk about over these 6 sessions is, really by using these and a couple of other small principles, you should be equipped to be able to get out there and be very effective in your kids' lives. Anyone else want to share? Thanks, Lee. I appreciate it, mate. That was really great. Anyone else want to comment at all? 1 or 2 words, even if someone wants to to feel free to chat it and put in the chat boxes saying, is there a couple of challenges? And the only reason I like that is because we can speak into those as we go through the session and make them really relevant to you guys. Brett, I see you've taken your mic off. Did you want to?
Sorry, I didn't realise I had. I'll just speak now because I've been put on the spot. But I suppose, like just with the kids, often I found that early on you have a lot of time with your kids, and then as you get busier and as they hit teenagerhood, they sort of have friendships, and you get busier as well, and so getting that connection back and making that time to sort of take those rides in the car and talk to them, I suppose, is the key.
Yeah, that's it. Right. Yeah, well done. Exactly. Time is definitely the hardest part, isn't it?
Mm.
Yeah, that's good. But it's great that you recognise that. Thanks, Alvin. I'll come back to you in a second. That there is, if we don't be intentional about it and make those times to have those dates with them or do things, then it is a natural sort of separation can happen. So we've got to be very aware of it. Alvin, thanks. If you unmute, that'd be great. Thanks, mate.
Guys, I don't know if you can hear me. Looks like you can.
Yep.
I think the most difficult thing is to trust that what you've put in when they were small is going to come through when they're older.
Yeah.
All the time that you spent there, you've got to sit back at some stage and let them live life and trust that they're going to do the right thing.
Beautiful. It is powerful, isn't it? But it is scary because we love them dearly. We don't want them to make mistakes, but that's where they do the learning too. And I think, as we'll discuss even tonight, as setting this foundation, that really is a great role, and it's a space where we can sit into, which is the values, which maybe you're talking about, is that things you've put in place as a young child, is the values that are there, and that should see them through and be able to make decisions. So that's good. Does anyone else want to share before we continue on? I'll be calling on you later. That's great. Thank you. All right, I'll go back to sharing and continue on, but I appreciate it, gents. That's fantastic. We're all warming up. All right, so let's look at what we've got here. And I guess, as we see tonight, is the good news really. There is challenges, no question at all. But as you can see, we're all in this together, and we really are. And also that we're here to help you. That is absolutely our role, and this is what we see as our mission as an organisation. So in this series, and again, I'd love to see you back again, we will look at what we consider to be 6 critical fathering essentials that will help you fulfill that first point of being the best dad that you can be in our research. And knowing that being a dad is actually a challenge. But quite simply, what we want to do over these 6 sessions is maybe similar to what Lee's saying, is actually strip it back a little bit. And we want to keep it very simple and just give you the tools to build strong and meaningful relationships with your kids so that you can love your kids and they can have them love you in that way as well. And so relationship is going to be actually in the center of these things. So when we look at all of these 6, really it's all with relationship at the center, okay? Because that will be the one thing that gets you through the tough times and launching to the great times as well. And so this is about allowing you to be a positive influence. So maybe even similar to what Alvin's saying, is that we do lose control because they are independent and they do move on. Our kids move on, but we want to be still a position of influence. And I think that's really key. I know with my kids that are now teens, that they are independent and they're looking for independence. So I want to be able to position myself through relationship and leadership that I can role model and be a person of influence in their life. And hopefully that's going to work for them as well. So this is why we've named this series, is with the fathers that have gone before you, the ones that Bruce has spoken to. And they want you to build a strong values-based foundation for your family that is tied into our research, okay? Because every solid structure that stands the test of time and the challenges that life throws at it starts with a strong foundation. So let's look at, before we launch straight into strategies and things, let's look at why. Why is that actually an important place to start? So we'll look at what do actually kids need from us first, okay? Now, in our research, again, we have found that a foundational need for children, for them to thrive in their development, is to have an environment that is actually built on safety and security and certainty. It's something that they're inclusive. They actually have a involvement over. They feel included in the family. That they have their opinions listened to, for example. That it's loving and affectionate. And they see that played out. They feel it, but they also see it. It's playful and fun. because we learn values through that as well, when to go too far in fun and what, genuine comedy looks like without hurting others, that sort of thing. But also guided by a strong values or a strong base that they can, again, see and follow. A value system and giving kids a success plan, as we're going to explore that tonight, is really setting them up, and actually creates a certainty, it creates safety even in that, because they know they're being led well. So it's really important. And what's great for us as dads is this is actually a place that is begging for us to step into. This is what our families naturally look for us to do. So it's a place that is ripe for us to go in with some knowledge, and we'll give you that tonight, and build on what you already know, and help you create that that really great value-based culture and environment, and you can be that person of influence. So now that's how we're going to do this. So we're going to look at how to build a family code or a family agreement, and also run a family meeting and show you how this is a powerfully effective parenting strategy. All right, so what is a family code or agreement? So if we were a business or a club or an organisation, this could be seen as a mission statement. And these statements are a critical step to successfully bringing any group of people together for a common reason. And your family is no different to that. Now, it's not that you don't already have direction or values in your family. I'm not assuming that at all. But what's important as dads is that we take the time to not only define what our family culture and values are, but we also actually have a way to both let our children know, but also include them. As we said, that's a really important element, is they're included in defining and shaping these values. Okay, and absolutely that part is critical. Okay, so defining or designing a family code or a family agreement is like laying out a roadmap that's where you all decide on the destination, and then you collectively agree on how you're going to get there. So once you define these family values, this also helps your children to make good choices and define how they are to behave in various situations. So by mapping out who you are as people, as a family, where you're headed, and how you'll treat each other around, and those are actually around you, outside of your family, you are proactively giving your kids skills to navigate their own life, which not only helps you with parenting them, but it also contributes to building their self-esteem, self-regulation, and self-confidence, because you're giving them the tools to succeed. And that's where our self-esteem really comes from. If I believe that I can do it and I can adapt in situations and I know how to operate, instantly I can go into situations and have success, which only feeds back into me. So it's quite powerful, very proactive way to do it. It also strengthens the bonds within your family, because you're actually leading your children well, and all of you exist for a common purpose. And you also play a part in building that culture and legacy for your family. Now, look, this is deep work that you can start tonight, and you may have already started this, so it might be a rehoning or something like that. But really, this has the potential to last generations. I often say, think about that you're actually raising your grandkids in this space. That if you do this well and you can put something in place, this is actually legacy for your family. It's very powerful. But again, I don't want to get too deep. We're going to keep it simple. But I want to get really practical on it, if that's cool. All right, before we come back into some more chatting now, which is great. So I just invite you to grab the session worksheet, because this is where you may want to take some notes from here that will be beneficial for you. So again, for those gentlemen that came in at the end, I have got an email to you, but also it is in the chat function at the top that I've got the 2 session notes if you want to download those. Otherwise, just take notes. I'm sure you're smart enough to follow along. So first of all, what we're going to do is look at how do I sort of identify family values that are really important to you. And so we're going to begin with yourself. So asking yourself, how do you want to be remembered as a person? And so I want you to write those words down, be very specific with those words that have come up. And again, just to keep the chat going if we could, I'd invite you, as you've written some things down, maybe just share a word or 2 words in our chat. How do you want to be remembered? Just 1 or 2 words would be fantastic. So, I mean, some examples could be, do you want to be known as that you were kind, caring, hardworking, that you're a helpful bloke, that you are knowledgeable, polite, funny, Yeah, just be as specific as you can. Fantastic. So we want to look at what were some of the values that you grew up with. And we're shaped by our own sort of family situation that we grew up with, and then that could be either good or bad. We could either do the opposite to what our parents did for whatever reason, or we could say that was absolutely key, and that was something that was a very powerful thing that I continue on. It could be integrity. It could be hard working. My dad was all about work ethic. That was very powerful, and I still believe in that. I really do. And my kids are starting to pick that up now in the way that we approach things. So that's something that I have definitely taken forward. And again, just want to invite you to write some things down, take your own notes. And again, if you wouldn't mind just sharing in the chat, that'd be awesome. Just keeps that community going. And so the next one I'll stop sharing for a second, then we'll go to the group. But the question I want to ask in this one, in shaping these values, is what do you want your child or your children to be known as and known for as they grow up? And you can take some notes on that, and we'll just stop sharing for a moment. And so just again, I'll just give you the opportunity to speak. What do we want for our kids? What's our hopes and dreams for our kids? What's something that we would love to see in their life, the fruit of their life, that's very passionate for you guys? What I'm going to do is actually, the next step really is taking these to your partner, if that's applicable, as what you see here that you've taken the notes on. But now just building on your list and saying, what are the things, and even asking the same questions, what do you want to be remembered for? What are the things? So you're just honing down to maybe, because ideally we want about 6 key elements or key values that we want to have in building this family agreement. Okay, so we'll have a look at that process. But again, now we want to involve the kids. We're not only involving our wives or our partners, but as we said in the beginning, it's really critical that we don't just become the ivory tower or the parents to say this is how it's going to be, because we're then struggling with compliance with our kids. Okay, so the key element here is that we actually involve our kids. So let's look at the family meeting, as I said in the beginning. All right, so family meetings. If you don't currently do this or even know what this looks like, this is actually a very powerful tool on its own. We can have our own session on this. But it's very valuable to have regular family meetings, okay? And we'll show you why. These are simply a great way for families to work as a team and check in on how everyone's going and coping each week. So it's a very, very simple event. But there's a lot of deeper things happening in the development of your children. But also seeing the culture, actually, the culture of your family is also really driven and grown in this space as well. So don't underestimate the power of them. Now, children experience a wide range of different experiences, thoughts and feelings each week. And as I've already said, time is a key element, or we start to lose those opportunities just to gather in families. Now, in a blended family where we're a family of 8, this has become a critical thing for us to be able to gather everybody in a consistent space. We've got kids now starting to do some part-time work, and we've got sport and all those sorts of things. There's lots of moving parts to a family. So it's a great time to just be that anchor time. So we started ours on a Sunday afternoon where we can even start to plan the week ahead and those sorts of things. So it's very critical that we get that routine. So again, if you've got younger children, this is also a great habit or a routine to form before teenage years, when communication and relationships are going to be actually critical. By building a culture of sharing and taking interest in each other through these family meetings, you're actually building trust in your family and a safe place for people to share. And as big issues come, this is when you're going to want to have that environment. So some top tips for this is actually set an agenda and keep to it. Now, look, I'm not saying that that's got to be a really formal occasion, but your kids will actually respect the meeting and the time spent doing it if there is actually some purpose and structure to it. So invite everyone, especially when it comes to teens, make sure they feel invited, that they're not made to do it, because you want to have a good attitude when you come. And give people time to prepare. So it's not a spur of the moment thing. It's saying, hey, tomorrow night or on Sunday, we've got a couple of days away, we're going to have a family meeting. Don't be concerned. We actually want to have an agenda. Do you want to talk about anything? These are some things we want to just raise. First couple, obviously, keep it light. It's not a time to raise big issues to start with. It's about setting the culture, setting the trust, and then go from there. But again, being inclusive in that process sets the culture straight away, that this is not about the parents just being able to dictate to these kids. This is actually a time for all of us to have a discussion. And so we've got to make sure that they actually do get that time. So a meeting can be part of your family time, and we always follow with a fun activity. So make sure there's a balance of fun and togetherness, even if you had to have some heavy discussions, and we've had some of those heavy discussions. So often a game we finish with is a game of Yahtzee. Kids like playing card games. But recently we purchased a kazoo game, actually, and I've got a video next, so you might be able to pick that up, from Kmart. It was in their Chris Kindle section, so I think it was about $5. And you pick a card, and then you've got to play that tune on kazoo. So it's just naturally hilarious. So it's a great game. Everyone just loves playing that game, and it's a great way to finish our family meetings, no matter how heavy it's been. So here's an example of a meeting agenda, and this is a time lapse of my family having one. So it's an agenda that you may want to incorporate into your family meeting. You can take notes on that if you want to. So the idea is share the role of the chair, again, so it doesn't feel like it's parent-led. And you can see Tia, my youngest one in the red shirt, she's got the pad in front of her. She's actually following the agenda and keeping us all on track. And you can see that we're passing around a spatula. That's the talking stick that we have in that. So there's always something. Use a salt shaker. You can use whatever you like. So again, the chair's there to keep it on track, but also if you want to have a time, if you want to keep it to half an hour, then make sure that chair is empowered to do that. And again, no one talking over the top of each other. So here's some topics. So you could review the week's activities. You could definitely look to celebrate things that each person has happened in each person's lives, and really build that culture of togetherness. It's great for organising and coordinating family activities. Updating the family planner, and that's why we did it on Sunday evenings after dinner, because it was great to look forward to the week and see what people needed and when things are happening. Again, discuss any problems or issues, and this is for everybody to have a voice on that. Again, as a blended family, we've had to talk about people's space, people's toys, all sorts of things as they've grown over the years, and this has been a great time to do that. And again, review family agreements and rules. This is where you start to build in what we're learning tonight. And again, deciding on and checking on family chores or tasks as the kids get older. So again, as you can see, the Zoom icon's down there. Just going to come back now and just ask if there's any questions or comments or anything that we want to have around that family meeting space. So again, show of hands for this size group. Does anyone have any comments? Does anyone do family meetings at the moment? Even a show of hands for that? No? Couple? Yeah, great, fantastic. Even seeing shaking heads, that's fantastic, because this absolutely is revolutionary. It really is. It might feel clunky to start with. It might feel everyone's going, what's this? And also the trust may be really low. So your kids might be going, what's this really about? When's the clangor going to be? But if you build that culture, and again, the teens might roll their eyes, but what's really happening underneath it is that they actually think, man, my parents actually really take care of me. And if anyone's been part of great organizations where they're led well, meetings can be a really powerful space where it's good information, people feel they have a voice, and you're really building a culture of sharing and togetherness and taking genuine interest in each other. So that's what it's all about. So it's good just looking at some of these here, liking the idea of having a civilized discussion. Yep. And it really is. And so again, if you haven't had civilized discussions in the past, this is a great way to reframe, reset things and go, how about we do this from now on? Let's give it a try. Invite everyone in. 18-month-year-old, yeah, good. Thanks, Stephen. That's a perfect example. If you, as parents, because this is about role modeling, if you start now from you guys, don't wait. So if she's 18 months, and Chris and I talk about this, that you start getting in the habit of when is the one time that we meet as a family? And then as the kids grow older, the involvement just increases as they grow. But if you have this as a habit, it'll be something you take forward. And again, so Tanya and I, if we're not having to do a Sunday meeting, we will meet. And it helps our marriage. It helps so many things when we can say, when are we booking in date time? When are we doing exercise? When are we doing the groceries? All those bits and pieces, very powerful. Yep, great. Lee, yep, you see it, don't you? Yep, fantastic. You sound like you're in mental health, so that's good. You understand. Good on you, mate. Now that you've identified your idea for your family values, so you've got your list there, okay? You can have that discussion with your children and get their feedback on what they think is important. So this is a great one to start a family meeting. It doesn't have to have any other agenda. You can just float the idea and say, we're going to do this because we see its great benefits. But let's start with this family agreement to start with as far as forming the family agreement. So the idea is that you're going to call that family meeting and start with some open-ended questions similar to what I've asked you. How do you think we should treat each other as a family? That's the number one. And when I work with families in my own youth work role and counselling, that's the one question I ask. And we don't get off that until it's really exhausted. How do we want to treat each other? What hasn't worked in the past? Even an example, one of you gentlemen said, haven't had civilised discussions. Talk about that as an opportunity to debrief without blame, but just saying, I have felt in the past we haven't had civilised discussions, and I think it doesn't help us as a family. Having that reflection and that debrief to try and start thinking about solutions to problems is very powerful. Another question is what's important and how we act towards others, because our home, they say charity begins at home, all those sort of things. This is an environment where we start to learn how we build our social skills. Now, what sort of things, what do you think people would say about us? What's our reputation? What do we want to have? What's our legacy? What do we want to be known as? What sort of things do you think makes a good friend? Because again, that is values that we would have in a home that we would take out into our schools and our community. So what we're going to do is actually get to sharing your list with your family and then form like a top 6. Everyone gets to talk about it. There will be definitely crossover. Now, what's interesting is that as adults, it's really important that we actually trust our kids that they actually know. And so, again, I do this in schools, and I've done this with classes of 30 kids and right down to grade 4 level. I've even done younger, but it's more effective around grade 4, when we can say to a class, how do you want to treat each other? How do you want to do this? And as an adult, you think, oh man, I'm giving them all the power. But once we actually do that with trust, and we trust that they've got it, and we're not trying to catch them out, kids get it. And they actually do want safety. They do want it. They always come up with, it's almost every time, the golden rule. We want to treat each other as we want to be treated. It's actually very powerful. But when they say it, they actually own it. And it's really important then for moving forward. Okay. So once you've discussed these ways that you've sort of had these values set up and you've got a bit of a list for yourselves, what we're going to do is challenge yourselves. And I've got a challenge at the end about how you can put this in play and actually start getting it part of your sort of weekly routine and the culture of your family. So let's have a look at what one looks like. So here it is. Our family is a place where we show respect, love and caring by speaking kindly and calmly and listening to each other. So you can see that we've got values of respect, love, and then we care. And then we've actually got in that one statement how we'll do it. We're actually going to show that as we've defined those values by speaking kindly, being calm, and actually listening. So communication goes 2 ways. That we share the load by helping out and working as a team. So there's so many values that are going through there, spoken into that one statement. We tell the truth and we are trustworthy. So there's a responsibility part that's actually underlying there that I'm going to tell the truth, and there should be no reason for anyone not to trust me because I am going to be trustworthy and we're committing to that. We are responsible for ourselves and our things. And again, that's something that all ages, we can start very young with that, saying that's our culture. This is what we're responsible for. So, putting your toys away as a younger person, But then looking after your possessions as maybe an older person, you've now got a jacket you take to school, you've got to look after that. Water bottles need to come home, all those things. We are responsible for our things, and we consider that sort of stuff. We encourage and take interest in each other. So it's very much about what will we do? What will we speak into the culture of our family? And we have fun and enjoy life together. So as you can see, we've got 6 points there, which could be a great starting point for a family agreement. Now, invite you to take the notes on that. And you can float that with your family, but the key element is you've got to build it together. Otherwise, your kids will be able to say, nah, that was never my words, they were yours. So we've got to be really key that we actually include our kids in that. So that's why I suggest go to your family in that family meeting just with how do we want to treat each other? How do we want to be seen in our community? And let this build itself. Okay, but that's just an example of what that is. So again, guys, I'm just going to go, I've got the chat bubble there. Just want to see, is there any questions? And I'll stop sharing again so I can see everyone. Is there any questions there, comments? And then let's sort of get some discussion around that space. Fantastic. Ben likes it. Good one. Thank you. Yep, would have helped from Cherie. Fantastic. Peter, thank you. I got the reaction I wanted. Why 6 things? Fantastic. Great idea. Julian, are you wanting to have more? Where are you there? Can I see you? Julian, that's it. Great. Julian, just want to hear, are you wanting more? Or what's around that question, if you don't mind me asking, mate?
No, I just wonder if there's any...
Just turn your, if you just speak in, volume's very low there.
If there's any science at all around that's the right number for the sharing, or you guys have done the research around or anything, because I don't know. I figured you could probably have 200.
Yeah,
at the same
you can.
time. Usually in that rule, less is more. So how you got to...
Exactly. It is less is more. And if you can have statements that capture a few, that's really key. So, and again, if you built 20, I mean, hands up, who likes being told what to do? Not me. And who loves rules? No, hands down. So if my parents came to me and said, hey, and let's build a list of 20, and then suddenly I've got all these things to remember. So keeping it concise, you can grow it. Absolutely. Whatever's relevant. And I say start small. And again, I've had class groups or organizations, and they get quite big. And if you look at code of conducts for lots of places, they can be quite detailed and big. Depends on what you need. But if you kept it small to start with, and then as situations grow, I always say keep it as a working document. So you can start with something small, and this is what we want to do. But as problems arise, you may need to add something. Go, oh, we didn't talk about conflict in this. What happens actually, and how do we fight fair? You know, and so you're now starting to build on this. But what you've got first up is ownership from the whole family. So yeah, great question, Julian. I appreciate it. It's really good to clarify it. So this, not necessarily, maybe there is research around it, but really the basics of it are, let's keep it simple to start with. So that's manageable. And again, if you've got statements, so 6 statements that maybe have 2 or 3 values in them. And again, like we've written there before, if you've got the values and defining that, so we don't just say respect, kindness, that sort of stuff, we can have those. But this is actually about giving our kids a success plan and saying kindness, fantastic, great word. I love that word. What does it look like in our family to be kind? And then we can design it, and then you can help help them add some more words and definitions to that. So, so an example now. So we're going to go into how this works. When I first started doing this in our family, what it instantly did is I stopped being the referee. This is what's so powerful as a parent. You've given them, and our kids have taken ownership of what we will do, and we agree to it. So when my boys would come to me and go, he's not doing this, and I want to borrow this and all this, and they just at each other. In the past, I'd go, right, what's going on here? Who was first? Give me your story, and go straight into police mode. And then all it taught them is to come to me with the best case possible and try and convince Dad to choose a side. Once we had a family agreement, I'd go, whoa, gents, sounds like we're lacking a bit of kindness and respect in the way you're speaking about things. And so I was able to reflect straight back to what they had agreed to. I said, didn't we say that in our family, it's really important that we speak calmly, no matter what's happening. Yeah, but this is going, yeah, hang on. Have you come to me with a problem? Is this working? No. Well, we talked about a success plan. We said that if we did this, we're more likely to have success. So it might feel clunky and really descriptive, but we're reaffirming as leadership from us, hey, you've got what it takes, and here's a plan. Just try it out. I'm here to help you. And this is what I would say, not a case of go away and sort it out. If you want to see what I would say in these situations, I'll show you a respectful way that I would talk, you know? So think about what we're doing is setting up a framework that our kids can work within, but it's going to come down to us how we really reinforce that in a positive way. Does that make sense? We can show of hands. Is that okay? Is that all right? Good. Fantastic. Yeah, but again, Julian, thank you for that question. So go with what you want. If you've got super young kids, maybe it's 3 or 4 that you want to start with, but also agree in those times, let's keep this as a working document because maybe there'll be situations we need to think of, all right? And then keep growing it. But again, the number one thing is ownership from the family and including everybody in how it's shaped. You have any other questions on that? We'll go into more of the practical side. Peter, did you have one there? What did you see?
Just Brett's question sounds like.
Oh, sorry, mate. I didn't look at the chat. Sorry. Thank you. Thanks, Brett. What advice for families that have broken trust and this is difficult to initiate? Yeah, great. Mate, I love that. You know, the best thing about parenting is we get many do-overs. And if we lead well in these situations, and again, dads, we can do this. You know, I actually almost feel sorry for mums because they do a stack of work, right? And we can come in and our voice cuts through. And so I really invite you guys to sometimes be the reset person. And so in Brett's situation where trust has been broken, and can I just ask Brett of the ages of kids we're talking about so I can be quite relevant to you and we'll adapt that? Is that okay?
Yeah, my kids are grown up, but this is sort of past that. But it's more. I'm just like I'm a principal of a school, so I deal with the parents that sometimes that's what's happened a lot.
Yep.
And they find that very difficult to sort of initiate something. That's all.
Yeah, beautiful. Okay, fantastic. I really feel, and in my youth work, and this is why I've moved from schools in some ways to look at the global impact we can make as fathers, is that role modeling is absolutely key. And so I often say to families, if you've had a mistake and you've all done something wrong, just call it out. We've got to name it to be able to tame it. And I think it's really important that we authentically say at some stage in a family meeting again, setting that culture and saying, guys, I think that, what do you think? But I feel like we've got low trust in our family. Like call it out and then start role modeling that and saying, they might not be ready to talk about it the first time, but say, I'd really like to repair that because it feels like that's the situation. And start to role model and start to go and inviting our kids again. How should we do this? Without blame and say, oh, it's because when I ask you to be somewhere, you never, there's no need for that anymore. We know what the problem has been. And so dads, we can really set that. And so this is a great situation. I'm actually working with a family at the moment. We've had 4 sessions in building their family agreement because they've come from a really tough space for very independent people, 2 teens and mum and dad at home. And they're very independent and very strong-willed, all 4 of them. And so they often want to go back to the blame game and go, yeah, but it's because you do this. And we say, we recognize that the past hasn't worked. Are we ready to do something new? And so we keep binding them to this family agreement and they're getting there because it's now a success plan. And they start to see the difference between when they're in it, the family feels good and they actually have some really great times together. When someone steps out of it, they see that it starts to crumble. So again, with families, for Brett's question, it's important as dads that we without blame, just say, I've noticed that sort of language. I've noticed that in our family, maybe we've got into bad habits of not speaking nicely, or I find sometimes that we don't use manners actually. And I'd like to bring that in. That was important for me as a kid. And I realized, and take ownership. Maybe I've dropped the ball here, but I'd like to reset. Who's with me? Being that leader and that role model, but don't be afraid to call out what the issue is without blame. Is that okay?
Yeah, no, that's good.
Cool. Fantastic. Any other questions before we move on and we'll just go to the practical side of what's happening? Yeah, good one. Thanks, Lee. Exactly. Kids need structure and certainty. And by leading well, they feel it. Again, they might not like it. I know that I've been times, especially as a stepdad, when I'm stepping into, the stepdad role and parenting my stepkids, they might not like me because of what I represent, or I've had to, that's a tough space. But I know that actually when the chips are down, they've come to me because I know that I'm structured and that I'm certain and I'm actually going to be there. And so sometimes our kids might say, I'm sick of the rules or whatever it is. But again, underneath it all is structure and certainty is what our kids really want from us. So stay the course. That's what I'll say to you guys. Stay the course and keep values based. So thanks for that comment as well, Lee. Beautiful. All right. So let's go back to that. And guys, what I'm going to do is I'm going to email you an ebook, which will have some of this if you're concerned about notes there. Okay. All right. So let's look at it. Now I went into that a little bit, but let's have a look at what's making this work. And again, let's really drive this home because it is key. As a dad, this is what your role is going to be, is that you are going to be the best influence if you lead it. They say the fish rots from the head. I don't like that's maybe not the most positive way, but it really is, okay? So it means that we actually do have a power, and our families are looking for that. If we come in with some knowledge in this, feel some confidence in it, even exploration knowledge, and go, I really want to explore this space, it's bringing some power and some influence into the family. So role model the agreement. If you've designed it and you've said that we don't yell in the house or we don't do this, make sure you do it and allow your kids to pick you up and go, Dad, we didn't, you're breaking the agreement. Be humble enough to go, true, thank you. Thanks for the correction. I want this to work, so I appreciate you telling me. All right. So it's again authentic. They've got to tell you in a respectful way. They can't break the agreement in giving you the feedback, but exactly, you can't do the same. Be encouraging and enthusiastic. So often we say that you want to catch your kids doing the right thing now. Some of the culture and where the trust has been broken is when we focused on catching people when they're doing the wrong thing. And then when the right stuff happens and there's good things, we just move on, all right? Because it's not making waves. We want to now catch and create the culture and going, hey, I noticed the way you spoke to your brother just before. That was awesome. That makes me feel so great that our agreement's working. And I just see a maturity in you. We've got this opportunity and this mechanism to actually speak into the lives of our kids and start rewarding and seeing the things that you see in them. I know that my kids, I've seen the pride grow when I'll have a whisper with them and go, hey, I just heard you negotiate that beautifully. And it sounded like a great outcome between you and your brother or you and your sister. I love the way that you show that. Being respectful to women is really important to me. And the way you're doing that with your sister is great. I love seeing that in you, but also shows her how she should be spoken to. So you've got all this language that we can start to use because you've got a framework. So again, there's deep stuff happens here in this simple mechanism. Again, reward and acknowledge others' positive engagement and keep your family connected to the why. So as part of your family meeting, that could also be something you talk about. Why do we want to do this? And ask the question, why would it be important, do you think, that we follow this agreement? They'll all say, because it feels good, or, so then again, if people are doing it, make sure you reward them. So, you know what? We've been hooking in. What can we do on the weekend to really celebrate us as a family? Where can we go? Let's go to bushwalk. Let's do something. Again, with families that I've worked with in the past, when they're working this family agreement out, often I'll say, now you've got a framework for each of you to be able to create family time. So again, in that family of four, that was just an example, what they're going to start doing now is each of the family members, kids and adults, are going to start designing activities for the family. So let's say the young boy who's 13 is going to start designing things that he likes. That's a way to include his family and bring them in. So he likes mountain biking, for example. Now, not everyone can mountain bike, but what they're going to do is go to a mountain bike track, and it's got some beginner tracks, and there's ways to incorporate and involve everybody in that process. So looking at how do you keep people connected to the why and create those environments and those experiences where you really feel the success and debrief it. Come back after the day and go, that was a great day. We're really making this work, So again, I'm trying to pull this apart. I was really demonstrate the power of it. So again, how does it work day to day? people are responsible for keeping their agreement, and that's all ages. That's us included, okay, the role model. But look to positively reinforce great attitudes, okay? And often, again, I will step out. I used to jump in if I heard anyone having a blue in the house. I'd go, hey, you guys all right? What's going on? Now I just wait. And I might say, do you guys want any help? It's because, again, I'm saying to my kids, I believe in you. You can do this. You know exactly what you need to do. And you will self-correct when you start getting annoyed that this isn't working. So that trust is underneath it. The belief in them is underneath it. And knowing that they've got a framework and you're always there to support them, not to be the police. So again, for agreement breaches, correct to the value. So don't become the referee. Don't worry about the micro of it. You know, someone's saying, oh, there's a fight on, there's something going on, or, you know, a child is overreacting or something like that, and say, hey, remember we said that we're not going to swear, or we're not going to use language like that. You know, this is what we said. We've said we're going to be respectful, and show that value is defining, and it's able to bind to that. Again, be the role model and lead your family in a way that would inspire them to follow you. All right, now I just see a few things coming up in the chat, so I'll just move to the next slide, which is going to be just, again, general chat. That's basically the content of the session. So I want to open the floor now to any questions and discussions, and then I've got a challenge for you guys before I let you go. So let me just have a quick look at some chat things here. Okay, fantastic, great one, Andrew. Can I just speak into that? So Andrew just said that can't get my kids to move without raising my voice. Yep, fantastic, great opportunity at a family meeting. That's a perfect one to say. Again, and I feel statements are powerful. So as a dad, you might be able to say, hey, I just want to give some feedback, and I just want to talk about something that happens in our house. I feel that people aren't respecting when I ask for something to be done, or when I'm talking, and I know that I've got into a habit now of raising my voice to get some action, but I don't like that. I don't find it respectful. You know, so you can talk to a value into it, and then start to problem solve it. What can we do in this situation because I don't feel good about it? Okay, so you're now inviting, because if someone has been the one that doesn't move, they know. You don't have to say, I do it because you don't move. So you're starting to invite discussion, and just because then you're role modeling problem solving, you're role modeling calm discussion. How do you bring up conflict, and how do you bring up sensitive issues and role model that? Very powerful. Again, that is really key. And again, on that first meeting, you might not come up with it because, again, the child has still got to see some trust and go, I don't know what you're asking of me. But again, I feel statements are really, really powerful. But I would speak into that and try and come up with something in your agreement. Now, it could be that the kids might want to say, and you could suggest this, am I not giving you enough time, or am I not speaking to you in a way that you want to move? Start having suggestions. I know when we do parenting support with teens, that eye contact is really key when you're giving instructions. And something that we've had to stop doing in our family is calling out from the kitchen to get action from our kids. If we genuinely want something and we don't want them yelling across the house, we've got a role model at first. So often we'll go to our child who we want to talk to and just say, hey, can I speak to you for a second? Yep, eye contact. Hey, I know you're in the middle of something. You know, if that's what they're doing, even if it's gaming, right? We've got to respect the fact that they're gaming, because you could be watching the footy and you don't want to be spoken to in the same way, even maybe from your wife, for example, all right? But, you know, same thing with the kids. Get their attention and say, hey, can I catch you for a quick second? I need some help in the kitchen. Are you able to help me right this second? It's very hard to deny someone who's been very respectful, got the eye contact, and they go, nah, don't want to. All right, now we're in a different situation. You can say, okay, that's a shame. I really need the help. Move on. But again, in those family meetings, when you're away from the conflict, you can debrief over those things and talk about how I feel and find a way forward. Is that cool? It's a really powerful spot to do that. Excellent. Any other questions? Any other comments? Does that seem helpful? Does it seem too difficult? How do we feel about calling a family meeting? Any questions around that? Good. Any thumbs up? Anything like that? Happy days? All right. Fantastic. All right. So I've got a challenge for you, guys. To stimulate this process and to once you've got your agreement going, I'm going to invite you to set up a challenge. You may have seen these sorts of things. I've just got a couple of examples. I want you to invite you to create a family agreement wall arts project or something like that. Okay. Now, again, I've done these in classrooms. That's a classroom one. I've done this with youth groups where we've done huge groups of 50 and 60 people that had come and been part of an agreement. So together as a family, using the agreement that you've got, we should invite you to design or create a wall hanging or something that displays your agreement. So again, there's a couple of reasons for doing this. That it creates much more ownership. If you've got a signature in some sort of contract, it's pretty cool. So the handprint is always beautiful from kids at all age, including you guys. And you can do some great designs out of it. You can create a family tree with your hands of the leaves. And in the leaves, you can write what your values are. And on the trunk, you could say what it means to be a rutter, for example, my example. And so we speak about that. You can start your own crest, but something that it means. So this is actually, again, Lee mentioned it in his chat, kids' mental health. This is a great foundation if they really feel they are actually part of something. You know, all of us come under great leadership. And so you've got this opportunity. You've now got a framework to lead this really well. And so if you've got actually a mechanism where there's now a visual aid that is always sitting up in your household that you've all created together, there's no denying it. And this is the key. It's almost, I'll say this, it's almost like using it against the kids themselves, because there's often where you say, didn't you agree? Didn't we agree this is what we wanted to do? There's no denying it. If their handprint is sitting up there right next to respectful discussion, you go, yes, I did. I'm just struggling with that. Great. Well, I'm here for you. But that visual aid is super powerful. So not only is it there, you could easily create it, or like that one that's there as well, you could buy it from a shop, but there's something different when you create it together. So guys, I'm going to ask that you take up that challenge, and I'd love you to email us some examples that we can use in these sessions down the track. But it's really, in doing this task, you're actually putting your agreement in play. You're asking for everybody's designs. People are involved. You know, even the younger ones might be the one. My 10-year-old loves doing art, so she would be like straight into designing can I do the writing? Can I do bubble writing? All that sort of stuff, okay? But it's something very, very powerful. And again, there's a couple of ideas of what family rules look like. You could go to Kmart with some photos of all of you, and they do really simple photo collages on a canvas. It's about $50 for that to be done. All right, so there's a real simple example. So where to from now? So guys, if you were actually invited by a school tonight, now they either have a dad's group that's already started, or they're looking to start a group. As we've seen, we've got some principals here that are interested to see how this works. So if you're a dad on the call and you like what we're doing, see value in it, I'd really encourage you to search on our website for a dad's group, or go back to the person that gave you the invitation tonight and say, have we got a dad's group? What do we do? The fact that you're here, I would see that you're a very proactive dad. So I'd actually also say, do you feel like leading and leading your dad's group within your school community? So talk to us about that if you want any more information about what a dad's group looks like and how to do it. We've also got stacks of information on our website, so please go to thefatheringproject.org. On there, one of the most powerful things you could do is go into the Fathering weekly dad's tips. Okay, so you'll be emailed dad's tips. You're never spammed with anything else. It's just resources that are really great in encouraging you and keeping you accountable and keeping you encouraged as being a great dad. So you'll be receiving the support and resources from the Fathering Project. Something that we actually started in Queensland, we're very proud of it, is an initiative called 2 Calls to Dads. And this is an initiative, again, you can see that on our website, and I'll give you some links to that in an email and the ebook. This is about actually reaching out to dads and just encouraging each other, creating a bit of a support group with 2 or 3 of you where you just call up and say, how you going? How's being a dad at the moment for you? And checking in on each other. We do it as a team. We do it with our own mates, and it's actually really, really valuable, and it's amazing. I had a phone call with one of the guys I speak to, and he really needed to debrief. And he actually had made a list of just how much he's struggling. He said, I know I don't want to just get into a complaints list, but I feel I need to tell this to someone because I'm struggling with it. And he said over this COVID time, how much he's been impacted in his business, how much is struggling in his marriage, how much is struggling in these things. And he said, I don't necessarily need you to do something with it. I want you to hear, and I want to be able to tell someone without any judgment. And I got off the call and I thought, wow, what a powerful thing. But if I hadn't made that phone call, I wonder what he would do. So we see such value in just dads encouraging each other. Okay, so 2 calls to dads is something where, again, really encourage you to register, get some information around it, and go out there and support other dads and spread the word. But really, what do we want more than anything? I just want you to continue being the best dad you can for your kids. And your kids deserve it, and they're going to thrive because of it. So, gents, thank you for being here tonight. It's just awesome. I love seeing dads on calls and taking the proactive step in being the best that you can. And I hope that you're encouraged by it. I hope that you see the fruit of this work and that you feel really great in being a dad to your kids. So thank you. There's our information again. I'm going to give you another email. You won't get spammed from me. It's going to be the ebook tomorrow, unless you email me back or register on the website. You won't be getting any more information directly from us. Okay, we won't abuse that email that we have. But yeah, again, I'd encourage you to register on the webpage for the dad's tips and those sorts of things. Thank you. All right, brilliant. Thanks, everyone. Let's just get back to your family now. Take care. Thank you.